Hello there, everybody. It's Jim. This week we're talking about our favorite SCPs, so things are going to get a little bit spooky, a little spacky. We talk about lots of murder and bodies and existential dread, so if you're not in the mood for that stuff, go listen to one of our other episodes this week. But it's a good time, and if you like collaborative fiction and spooky stories, then you should keep listening. All right, here's the episode.
Jim forgot 4 seconds ago when I said, Jim, you're doing the intro this week, and then he paused and waited for me to do the intro.
Dan needs to hold my hand every time we introduce our podcast, Shack Out Back. It's me! It's at Popeye Barkin, the other guy. Who's the other guy?
It's me, it's Danny. It's friend of all Indian people, friend of the continent of India, Danny Markle, at Dan Sama on Twitter.
And we got we checked it right before we started recording, and we have 1,000 reviews on our RRR podcast.
We have to start targeting specific areas of the world with high population density. That's the problem, Jim. Everyone in Canada lives within 3 kilometers of the US border. We need to target those places where 1 million people live in 2 blocks, which is all good.
Cassie suggested we target Brazil, and the only thing I know that people in Brazil like is the Sega Master System. They made it to 2005 there. People love that shit.
I think Brazilians like that chocolate drink Milo as well. I think that's a Brazilian thing.
Will you bring Yoo-Hoos to South America? I don't know, Dan. Will you?
Not potentially. But Jim, this is Shack Out Back. I'm Danny. He's Jim. And
it's a bi-weekly podcast. It's a book club of sorts. We talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. And this week, it's a good old ghouly and ghastly time. We're talking about our favorite secure, contain, protect articles.
Yeah, this is a really good one. I'm super duper excited to talk about this. We are both pretty big into the SCP scene, and just to give a brief interlude, SCPs are kind of like a internet group that writes stories. You can submit and write your own stories and stuff, and each one is written like a classified article on a certain weird thing, be it like a monster or a piggy bank that collects chili inside of it every day. weird stuff like that. So it's very interesting, and it's exactly the type of stuff I love, because everything's a bit weird, and there's bigger canons and there's stories that connect to everything, but at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of little things that you can read about, and you don't really need to know a jumping off point.
It's something that I've been reading for 10 plus years. I wanted to tell the story of I was sitting in my business class in grade 11, and I had to read Reddit in Esperanto because the stupid Catholic school system didn't know that if you put things in Esperanto, it wasn't blocked by the...
What's Esperanto? Spanish?
No, it's like the internet language that no one actually speaks. And I discovered SCP through that. I remember reading all the classics of it's a statue that'll step you down.
All the classics. We're gonna mention all that type of stuff, but I want to get into this one. Let's talk about what you've been doing these last 2 weeks, Jim. As we always do, we talk about what we've been doing since the last time we recorded, and it's always fascinating. Jim's gonna say, "I watched Casablanca and I read a book."
Shut the fuck up, Dan. So it has been a little bit of time since we last recorded. I had to take a break a few weeks ago, and I put up the RRR podcast about a week late, so we're starting 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, I guess
so it is going to be a little bit of a longer list this week for the both of us, I'd assume. But Jimbus, Bioleaky Breakdown. I watched the end of Better Call Saul.
Did you like it?
Oh, it was so good. I gotta pick a new show for me and my dad to watch, but we both enjoyed the ending of it extremely. It was an extremely good ending to the whole Breaking Bad universe. And I will say, Better Call Saul, much better than Breaking Bad. Can't change my mind. Me and Dan and Cassie and old Patrick, we got together and we watched The Princess.
Oh, yeah. I was going to touch on that as well. Yeah.
The new Joey King joint. I'm more excited. I was more excited to watch Bullet Train, but Bullet Train wasn't up for streaming yet.
Yeah.
But The Princess wasn't bad. It was just an hour and a half of Joey King kicking guys, which wasn't like the worst thing ever to watch.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It was 30 minutes of cool stuff and then 8 minutes of dialogue
talking
between all the shit, and it's like, who gives a fuck. Get back to doing other cool stuff.
Joey King shoved that spear through another guy's head. It was just like that stuff. It was great. I watched
fun.
Dan's favorite movie he's seen this year, Coming Home in the Dark.
Oh, fuck off. Did you watch it with Jaden?
I watched it with Jaden, and we both fucking hated it.
I saw Jaden post an Instagram story about it, and I was like, I was going to message him, and I was like, I wonder if he liked that movie, because I didn't at all. You didn't like it either, though.
I think Jaden was on the fence about it, but yeah, I didn't like that movie much at all. I liked how pretty it was, and I liked some of the characters and stuff, but the script I didn't enjoy.
It was nonsensical. That's the movie where the family goes out, and it's like New Zealand, right? And the two parents get kidnapped, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie fucking pissed me off. Every turn those two parents, like their actions that they did, just made me so mad. I could not understand why they were doing the things they were doing.
I also watched a movie with my mom. I went over there one night and we were watching Marilyn Monroe movies. I watched The 7-Year Itch. And then I sat down one day and I was like, let me watch the most glorious films I could think of. So I watched Turbo Kid. I watched Hobo with a Shotgun. And then I got pretty tired of that shit. So I watched Have and Have Not, which is a movie with Humphrey Bogart and Walter Brennan, and it's just like a nice old classic movie. Turbo Kid and Hobo with a Shotgun are classically Canadian. They are some of those Canadian fucking films I've ever seen.
I need to watch Hobo with a Shotgun. I've never heard of Turbo Kid.
Have you not watched Hobo with a Shotgun?
No, I've never watched Hobo with a Shotgun.
What the fuck? We're gonna have to do that for Shack Out Back. Jesus Christ.
That's interesting.
I watched Jaws with my dad. And then I watched 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri again.
That's one of my favorite ones. I love that fucking movie.
Such a classic film. Martin McDonagh makes good movies. I watched his short film as well, 6 Shooter, which he made before In Bruges. It was pretty good. It was funny. It was a very rough, like 25-minute long short film with Brendan Gleeson, but it was good.
3 Billboards is the one we saw in our local cinema, right?
At Rainbow, yes. We talked about it on Shack Out Back. I've been watching a lot of Deep Space Nine. I've been telling Dan, and it's slowly becoming
it's your favorite or something.
It's slowly becoming my favorite Star Trek because everyone in Deep Space Nine, like usually, if you're thinking of Star Trek, like we watch TNG for an episode of Shack Out Back, everyone's like, yes, I'm a Starfleet officer. I need to be couth, and I need to be cool, and I need to like get through these relations with aliens. Everyone in Deep Space Nine, they're on the front of a war, and everyone's just a fucking asshole. Everyone's just a dickhead, and that's why I like the show a lot. I beat Undertale. I've never beaten Undertale, but I got it on the Vita. I got a physical copy on the Vita, and I beat it. And then after that,
you got a physical copy?
Yeah, and then after that, I beat episode 1 and 2 of Deltarune, and they were all very, very good. I'd never beaten them before, never played them before, and I enjoyed it very much.
Sweet. That sounds good.
I played a little bit of Dread X2 and Gloomwood. Gloomwood came out.
It came out, yeah. So we're recording this, and Gloomwood was supposed to come out today. Originally, right? But it came out yesterday, or like early access.
And I beat it already.
How many hours of content was it?
I think I did everything, and that's
like just going through it.
3 hours, just going through it. Probably like
you can go back and do everything and shit. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna play through it again because I can unlock something now that I know the codes for the safes and shit, and get like a weapon early. But yeah, definitely going to be an amazing game, and I would recommend getting it right now because it's very fun to play around with. I started playing Mother 3, and then I finished my book Between Two Fires.
Oh, you finished it?
Yeah, and that's a book I think you'll greatly enjoy if you sit down to read it.
My next one on the my next one to read. I'm about halfway through Stonefish right now. That's the one about the big feats I was telling you about.
The big footles. You have the Deep or the Troop on your wish list too, right?
I've got that as well. I've got the one you were saying that's the parasite thing about the is that the Troop? Yeah, I've got that one because that looks very cool, and a bunch of the reviews were, this is fucking grotesque. How can anyone enjoy this? And I was like, I think I'll enjoy that.
All right, what did you do, brother? What have you been doing the last 3 weeks?
Before I get into it, Marilyn Monroe is the same figure in my head as Betty Boop is. They're both just things that haven't done anything. Is Betty Boop based on Marilyn Monroe?
No.
Are they around the same time period?
No.
Okay. I don't know what either of them do, but they're the same thing in my head. What have I been doing? I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter 4U on my 3DS. I've been having a jolly good time. It's just as good as I remember as a wee lad playing it over summer and stuff between school.
Dan was screaming and yelling.
Wasn't I playing
yelling about his 3DS? No, but when you were trying to set it up, I was at Dan and Cassie's to watch something.
Yes!
And Dan was trying to set up his 3DS, and he was fucking screaming and yelling trying to set it up.
Because I was
like,
dealing
"Where's
with
my
Nintendo
charger?"
bullshit. I was like, let me just buy the game. And Jim's like, you have to get fake Nintendo coins. And I was like, you being
$10.
serious? Like, you being serious? I thought he was punking me. And he's like, no, you actually have to. So I had to buy like 3 $5 cards because I didn't want a $20 card. But, yeah, I ended up getting, like, Monster Hunter 3, 4, and whatever the one on the Switch is, Generations Ultimate, and I started playing Generations Ultimate, and it fucking runs like dog shit. I don't know if it's just something I need to push through. Like, the one on the 3DS runs much better, and it was kind of worrying, because that game's supposed to be good, and I want to play it. I've been reading a lot of Stonefish. I got back into that. That's a book about Bigfoot and AIs and weird futuristic technology, and it's...
Dan was sending me shit about that book, and I had to stop, and I was talking to Patricia, and I was like, Patricia, look at this text Dan sent me. And it was that text you sent about, like, Jim, Bigfoot could just be like, we could have, like, blindness to them. They could be existing in the periphery of our minds. And I was like, Patricia, this is what I have to deal with when I talk about cryptids with Dan.
I like super weird high fantasy like that. That book kind of relates to the fact that Bigfoot could almost have evolved like a stonefish has evolved, that it's like has mimicked camouflage so perfectly that we wouldn't know we were looking at one even if we were looking straight at one, and it's a very weird premise.
You know what Patricia said?
Did she say that guy's very uptight in the mind, he's all there and he's gonna live till he's 95?
She said at least he's happy.
That's sad. That's the saddest thing you can say to someone. What else have I been doing? I've been playing more Death Stranding. I've been enjoying it immensely, much more than I thought I would have, because I was kind of apprehensive starting it. I was like, wow, I've hyped this up a lot, but no, it's really good. I'm enjoying it. Went to the board game thing last week. That's probably going to be a weekly thing. Very, very fun.
Dan's been making friends.
I'm making big moves. Labor Day was yesterday, and I watched like 12 episodes of Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. I sat down and watched like 5 hours of anime or something.
Okay.
Very sad last episode. Very fucking cool last episode, and happy too, but also horrendously sad. And it was good yesterday. I relaxed like all day. My girlfriend was gone, so I had the house alone. Me and Ruby were looking at each other for hours upon hours.
You excited for season 3 of
Mob Psycho?
Mob Psycho, yeah.
Season 3 of Mob Psycho, Season 2 of To Your Eternity. There's a lot of good stuff coming out this winter season. I believe Jujutsu Kaisen is either this winter or spring as well, so it'll be a big time.
Is that it, Dan? Are you finished with the bi-weekest breakdown? I'm excited. I have energy.
I'm excited to talk. Yeah, I know. This episode, I have a lot of passion to it. It's not 15 dogs. This is a cool one.
Me and Dan each picked 4, and what I'm going to do...
You want to go back and forth? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, we're going to do 1 and 1. And what I'm going to do, too, is if the Volgan on YouTube has narrated over one of each of these SCPs. I don't think he's done a couple of them, but I'll link all of them. And if not, I'll link the narrations that the Volgan's done in the description of this video or podcast thing and whatever you're listening to on. So
yeah, I tried to find, because the Volgun on YouTube is where I used to get a lot of my SCP stuff. I still do. I watch pretty much everything he puts out, but I wanted to pick ones that he hasn't done just so I can kind of look more into them. And I don't think some of the ones you picked he's done either, Jim.
I think he's done all of them apart from 1, I think.
Yeah.
But if you want to go first, Dan, you pick one. Which one do you want to do first?
Let's see. I've got, we each got 4. I'm going to do the oldest one, the one that you said, I've never fucking heard of that one.
SCP-489.
SCP-489, 155 Bug Bash. And I found this one when I was looking through... Don't laugh, Jim. I found this one when I was just looking through the old SCP lists. I was telling Jim I'd go through and see a name like The Gayest Man Alive, and I'd say, why is this on the site? And I'd read it and be like, that was kind of stupid.
That is one of the worst SCP articles I've ever read.
Yeah, under 1,000, they're kind of weird, but SCP-489 is like a dome-shaped conglomeration of insect-killing apparatuses, like fly swatters and sprays and like traps for different insects and like electric zappers and weird shit like that. And it's a dome that kind of is like on the ground, and it's 5 meters tall and 8 meters wide, so it's a pretty big dome. And inside the middle of this like huge conglomeration, there's a big van, like a human van that says Bug Bash on the side, and there's a skeleton in the driver's seat. Okay, Jim?
Okay.
And this SCP is like... It basically stipulates that any insect that comes close to this mass, the mass itself will try and like move towards that insect to try and kill it, but there's so much shit in it, it makes it very hard to move. Like, all the fly swatters kind of vibrate and it can't really locomote properly. But if it does kill the bug, little, like, tweezers and implements will grab the body and, like, move it to the back of the van where the doors open. And it's almost like an alternate reality space in there. There's just, like, shelves and shelves of shit. And all of them are, like, labeled dead insects with, like, little descriptions of what they are and where they got them. And it's just shit like... There's, like, the big one is the one that says the bug that killed Master, and it's, like, you know, obtained, like, November 18th, I think. And it just says, Master fought hard, he met a bug he couldn't kill, but we fought for him and made it suffer well, we couldn't save our leader. And then after that, there's a bunch of, like, worms they've killed, and it just says, our first kills after Master's death, we must carry on his work. So it seems to be, like, a bunch of anomalous
object that has just come alive and started killing bugs.
Yeah, the weirdest thing is in the shelves and stuff, it's like not normal bugs. The one that killed their master is like an 8-foot tall scorpion man, and there's like huge Mongolian death worms and like weird shit, and I just like it. It's a very simple one. Very simple, under 1,000 SCP.
This is a classic under 1,000 SCP.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a weird thing, and we just keep it somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it's a safe. It might be Euclid class, but I think it's safe because all they need to do is just keep it in a room, and it has no reason to get out. It kind of just moves around the room, and it's just weird bugs and weird shit like that. It's a very simple one to start off with. I'm easing us into it before I get into the SCP-3000s and lunatic shit.
That's a very classic SCP. That's
easy to understand.
That's an SCP that you could find in like one of those SCP games where it's like containment breach. There's a big shelf van full of bugs that's going to kill everybody. Yeah, that's a classic one.
It's easy to digest. That's like the one most people, I think, if they dive into a certain amount of SCPs, will be like, these are not easy to understand for first-time people watching, and ones like that are easy. You listen to that and you're like, okay, I get the gist of it.
So do you like those entries, the ones that are like, oh, it's just a thing that's happening?
Yeah, I find them, I like them to an extent. I think there's a lot more to grasp onto some of my other picks. There's a lot more to talk about, but those ones are nice. They're a nice jumping off point, and they're written well, and they're just a cool thing. You read it, and then that's it. I don't have to read 10 more stories, and yeah, it's cool.
Okay, so the one I'm going to pick to do first is, like, I love the SCPs where there's, like, a big, long entry of people, like, entering into the compound or the place that it's in. Yep. And, like a team, like, it's Alpha 1, check it in. Everyone check
MTFs,
in. Alpha 2, check. Yeah, like, there's a bunch of guys going in to fight, like, some Cthulian beast. And I think my classic, like, the classic one that I like is SCP-3333.
I was reading that one today, yeah.
Because that one's just, like, fucky. Like, they have a lot of SCPs are like, we have this anomalous place that showed up, and if you go in, crazy stuff happens. And this one is just my classic example of that, where it's a very, like, classic setup. It's, like, Exploration 1. It's a Firewatch station that is in Mount Baker National Forest, Washington State, United States of America. It's just a building. It's just a regular Firewatch building that was refurbished, but then they found there's a trap door in the roof. And when you go up through the ladder to the trap door, there just is another fire station.
It's like a reoccurring
and you keep going universe, up, and there's more and more fire stations just seemingly stacked on top of one another. When you look out, and in these different instances of the fire station, there's nothing out there. There's no plant life. There's nothing going on. But when you get to the tippy top, there's something fucked up there and everybody dies. So this is like a classic example. These are all going to be spoiled, by the way. If it's a narrative SCP, they're all going to be spoiled. Where it's like Exploration 1, they send up a D-Class. A D-Class is a thing in SCP universe where it's like a person who's like on death row or a person they can vanish off the streets. They just can do experiments on. It's like these expendable humans. So they set up this D-Class up, and he's like, I don't know, I don't want to go up there. And he gets to the top, and he just disappears. And he gets to the top, and the very top, after like 2 days of climbing, it's just this big, wide, black expanse where there's a bunch of fire stations connected by bridges, and they just disappear. The second exploration is like an exploration team where they all go in, and then by the end, they all disappear for a second, but they come back, and they're like, that was fucking weird. And
they're all using the wrong call signs and shit between each other. The writing is interesting. It'll be like, MTF3 what they say, and they're like MTF4 checking in, and I was like, okay, something's going on.
The third exploration is they send up a crack team. Like after these like these explorations go on in a lot of these SCP articles, they'll send they'll send the business guys. They'll send the guys that they're like, okay, these guys are a little fucky and they do what we want them to do. They have this classic team that DJ Cactus writes about where it's like a team of Power Rangers who were like half machine, half human guys who go and do stuff. But in this one, it's someone called Specialist Zero, who's a deaf-blind mute.
It's
and
very
communicates
cool.
solely through a modified signaling system embedded to their hands. So it's like they're sending them up there because they don't think they can be affected by like cognito hazards, like being able to see or hear something that will fuck with their perception of reality. And she goes up there and she disappears. But by the end, she finds the bodies of the team that was supposed to go up in the second expedition, but they came back. So the last entry in the thing is this woman going up, the director who's been leading the team, and she goes up and she's like, oh my god, they copied us perfectly, and she's like slamming the door shut and people are trying to get up, and then she gets attacked and killed seemingly and then zoomed into the creature by the end. Just a classic SCP article. A classic, like, everything just gets progressively more fucked. Yeah.
Deals with a lot of stuff that will wade you into SCP shit. It deals with reoccurring universes and like paradoxes of the world and replicating shit. And there's monsters too at the end. I believe it describes it as like
a slug under your skin.
Yeah, it's like a black mass that enters into your body and like pilots your skin and sucks out all your internal organs and shit.
Yeah.
Very weird, very creepy, and it's a very good one. I've realized a lot of my picks, and a lot of yours as well, are from SCP like the 3000s, around there. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but it certainly seems like a lot of the shit that I like, it starts with SCP-3000s and just kind of keeps moving. I don't know if they just got more mainstream at that point or what.
I think the authors who used the site got older, and some of them, and the site attracted better authors and stuff. So the stories progressively got better. This isn't the best written SCP I've ever read, that there's one. These are my favorites. I tried to pick ones that I like a lot, but are like very indicative of the canon of SCP. Like there's different like exploratory SCPs I like better than this one, but this one was just like a classic example of things fucking up and no explanation as to what's going on, right? Like that's the other thing I like about SCP a lot, is you don't need to fucking explain everything. You don't need to fucking explain everything. It's just a weird thing that's happening, and then there's no explanation for it, and people are just being subsumed into these creatures. And like, who would have thought of like a never-ending pillar of God tower, of Firewatch stations? Like, what the fuck is this story? That's what I like. But you hit me with another, Dan. You hit me with another one.
I will say one of my favorite parts of this one is during that first expedition when the D-Class they've been climbing for like 12 hours or whatever, and it's been nothing. And then all of a sudden she's like, there are two people looking at me, like, on the ridge, like, kilometers away. I swear I can see two people. And she, like, looks at them, and she's like, oh my god, they just look back at me, and now they're coming down the hill. And I was like, oh god, that's fucking terrifying.
What's your next one, Dan? What's your next one?
Next one for Danny. Let's do... I want to keep my favorite one for the last one. Let's do another decently easy one. This is another easy one, but I like it a lot. It's SCP-3994, and it's called Normal Human People. And
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, did you know this one? Yeah?
Yeah.
The Volgan did one on this one.
Yeah. That's the one where they're like extraterrestrial entities that are like perfectly mimicking humans, but they're not doing it right.
Yes.
And the SCP, like the SCP Foundation's attempt to like thwart them is to just teach them how to be a human wrong.
Yes,
like, teach them
it's
that,
very
like,
funny.
You can wear your shoes on your head, and that like you should eat like cement and shit like that.
Yes, weird shit like that. Yeah, so it's a group of like thousands of them, or hundreds of them, thousands of them. The numbers vary, but it's like extraterrestrial entities who seem to be almost fluid-like inside, but they create a human-looking shell to mimic people. So some of the shells aren't created properly, which is where the Foundation will find some of them. So some of them will be like arms are backwards and like knee joints are the wrong way around, and you'll have a foot sticking out of your back, weird shit like that. But some of them are created perfectly that you can't tell. The big thing is, though, they can, like, mimic human speech and everything. They're super strong, essentially. They can, like, squeeze through tight spaces. but they don't know how to act as people, so it seems like they share some form of a hive mind, so they can kind of learn from every instance at once. But yeah, like Jim was saying, the Foundation has decided the best way to weed them out is to, like, mass put out market things that are like, humans love eating paste in the morning and watching TV all through the night and, you know, like wearing the glasses on your belt buckle and weird shit like that to, like, discern them from... Yeah. It's very interesting, and I like it a lot. It deals with a containment breach in one of the addendums that it's talking about, and it's essentially like they keep all of these different things in a certain site, and one day there's a containment breach. And a bunch of shit happens, a doctor accidentally lets all of them out, and they're talking to the doctor after the fact, and he's pretty much like... Yeah, like, these people, they've mimicked us perfectly. It takes 1,000 rounds to put one down. They're almost all resistant to fire. They're becoming perfect, and soon they're going to realize humans don't eat paste, and you don't wear Eggos on your head to go to bed, and they're gonna fucking kill us all. And then he just leaves, and then the last note in the thing is like, it was
that
recorded
been on vacation.
For like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh god, that's really scary. The other thing I like about this one a lot is there's a lot of interviews with the actual SCPs, and it's creepy. The instructor will ask, like, you know, how's your day going? And it's really formed improper English, like he's talking in 3 different languages. And it's clearly, like, asking people in the hive mind, what the fuck's going on? Like, how do I respond to this thing? And then he'll just string together sentences that almost make sense if you're not listening, but it's, like, doesn't make any sense at all if you actually sit down and see what he's saying.
That's a good looming threat SCP.
Yes.
I was thinking a lot about looming threat SCPs. Like, one of my favorites is the Nikola Tesla one. You remember that one?
Oh, vaguely.
Nikola Tesla gets sent to another dimension, and he makes, like, an antimatter fucking doomsday device by mistake, and he's in this perfect dimension that he doesn't want to destroy. Yep. So, and it's got, like, a timer of, like, 300 years, so he just comes back to our universe and says, fuck you, figure it out, and then dies.
Yes, I do remember that one. Yeah, it's one getting more into SCP shit that's like, if you take too long and think about SCP stuff, you're like, holy Christ, they could never deal with, like, that alone. There's thousands of these things. That alone is too much. But then there's shit like that, too. Yeah.
Do you want me to hit you with one?
Hit me with one, Jim. Tell me which one you're doing.
SCP-3300, The Rain.
Yes, I took a lot of time today reading that, too.
This one's a good one. This one's an old sad one. This is an old Jimby sad one. Basically, this is a really, really easy premise. It's a town in Montana that every year they have a rainstorm that will last for like days, and everyone in the town will melt into water and new people will appear.
Yeah, no memories, nothing. It's just like you're refreshing the town's population.
They have memories that aren't really real, that don't exist. But the most fucked up thing about this article is that's the scary premise, right? The most fucked up thing about this article is they have, like, this journal that one of the people in the town wrote, where she basically describes, like, how everything degenerated, how she was just, like, going along living her life, had problems with her family and stuff, and then she was playing D&D, and these people came at her house and they were like, what the fuck are you doing in my house? And killed her mom in front of her, and then they just left. And then she saw, like, his skin ripple like it was made of water. And they tried to leave the town and they got lost for days. And they just start, like, killing themselves and evaporating into the air. And she just has this vivid dream of, like, people being subsumed into the water and stuff. And she's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be part of this. And then the article ends.
Yeah, it's not a happy one. She doesn't learn that you can drink up the water and survive and kills everyone. She just kind of...
dies.
Yeah, goes away. I wanted to touch on that one because it seems like there's something more going on in it. It seems like she's having these dreams of, like, a tribe doing some ritual where a guy found, like, the spring of life and everyone will turn to water and shit. And it seems like it's just infinitely stuck in that situation where that town is.
It seems to me like it's like their souls being reborn into different bodies with different memories and stuff of the original people who did this ritual with the water. And it's not really clear, and that's the other thing I like about SCP articles too, is that they don't have to describe everything. They can give you a grasp as to why something happened or what's going on, but it leaves a lot up for interpretation, right?
I like that one too. The Rain is a good one. I always get the Rain confused with
the diving suit one.
The diving suit one. There's an SCP where like same type of thing will happen. A rainstorm will kind of happen, but a big submarine pops up and people in diving suits get out, and they'll go to the town residents and be like, "Come on, guys, come with us. You got to leave right now." I always get those two confused because they both deal with water and my brain don't work.
That one's another scary one where it's like a guy from the SCP
Very
Foundation
weird.
went to investigate it, and he went down to the submarine. He describes all these vivid things he saw, like people who were hundreds of years old being trapped in the submarine and different things. And he comes up to the surface in the driving suit, and he's talking, describing. And the person giving the interview is like, you know, you got to take that suit off. And the guy's like, I'm fucking scared. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen if I take the suit off. Like, and the guy's like, no, you just got to trust me. Like, you're here. I know you. You have these memories. You are the guy I knew. And he's like, okay, here it goes. And he takes the helmet off and he just melts. He's not actually like, there.
It's like a deer antler, a child's hand.
Yeah, and like a lady's eyeballs.
Yeah, it's a very weird one. It again deals with what a lot of really creepy SCPs deal with, which is like losing your own sentience. Yeah, and not realizing what you actually are. Which is going to be my next one.
Much like the one you're going to pick next. Yeah, I thought that was a good lead into your next one.
That's a segue. That's what I call a segue, Jim. SCP-3000 is my next pick. This one took a little while. It was between SCP-3000 and I think 14-something. It's Jungle in a Jar. I was going to have that one on here too. But SCP-3000 is Anatisesha. And this is another one that at first glance you understand exactly what it is, but if you read into it, it's like, wow, that's way more horrifying than I could have ever imagined. It's pretty much a huge aquatic eel that's something ridiculous. It's like 600 to 900 kilometers in length, if I remember. And it's all wrapped around itself and shit, coiled in the Bay of Bengal. And it pretty much never ever moves, only its head moves during feeding, so it's just there, sitting there wrapped around the like lower reefs and shit. And it's essentially, after it eats something, it only eats people. They do this whole protocol, it's called the ATSAC protocol, where they feed a D-class to it. It starts to secrete like a gray material around its head that they then sort of collect, and they use it for monestics and like to wipe people's memories. Apparently it's super duper good at doing that. But it's a huge, what is called a cognitohazard. Jim touched on it in the Outlook Tower one as well. A cognitohazard is a big thing in the SCP canon where
it just makes you go insane.
It's something that is a hazard, if you look at it or view it. So there's also things like info hazards, which are if you know the fact, it's dangerous to know that fact. But yeah, SCP-3000 is like a hugely strong cognitohazard. It like makes people panic and they have extreme fear and paranoia and freak out, especially people that view its face. So the worst part about it is they figure out there's a bunch of addendums and interviews with doctors that are doing it, and a doctor goes fucking insane because he starts to like mix his memories with other people's memories, and he's not knowing what's actually real anymore, and he starts to believe this SCP is a god, like a Hindu god. And it's one of the rare ones that I've read that touch on actual shit like that even he's like, I know this is stupid and I can't believe this because I'm in the SCP Foundation, but like, it's a god. It's going to be around when everything is gone. Like, it's a god in the Hindu religion. The worst thing about it is that they eventually figure out that when it eats things, it's not really eating it in a normal way. They do like radiographic scans and stuff, and they find all of these people still alive inside of its huge digestive tract, 1,000 kilometers long or whatever, like insanely long. They're finding them alive, but it seems to be breaking down what makes a sapient creature sentient and there.
Yeah.
It's really fucking creepy.
Well, the doctor, there's the one doctor who goes inside and basically feeds himself to the thing. There's another doctor who's just there learning stuff. And
he was like his partner, yeah.
And he has a picture on his desk of what he thinks is his family. But then near the end of the article, it's like, holy fuck, this is not my family. This is that other guy's family. So what I'm thinking, like the way I read it is that like the exposure to this stuff is basically turning your mind into a huge like collective slurry.
That's what I was kind of getting from it as well.
You have all the memories of everyone else who's been eaten by this fucking snake. and it's just like turning you into like base components, like bits of memory and bits.
That's
of
what
nothing.
I kind of got from it as well. It's filtering out everything that makes you an actual person and like sentient in your memories. So anyone around it is getting sapped and like third degree reactions to that. It's really fucking creepy.
It's really
weird.
This is probably one of the scariest SCPs on the.
Yeah, I don't like this one either. It gives me a fucking dread. Like, there's one of those MTF teams Jim was talking about goes down to look at it, and they start to all forget who they are and call each other different names, and one of the dude like starts to talk to someone who's dead, and another guy starts to freak out, and then the other dude gets eaten, and he's alive just on the microphone for like 3 days breathing. It's really fucking eerie and really creepy.
Not something I'd like to see in real life.
No, if I saw that in real life, I would swim the other way.
I would literally say, "Ooh, pump the brakes," and I'd start swimming the other way. One for me. SCP-5031, yet another murder monster. This is one of my favorites.
This is in the 5000 series. I didn't know that. Wow.
This is a relatively newer one. That's we picked a lot of well-known ones, but I think they're very good examples of the SCP Foundation. This one has like 2,000 upvotes. So basically, this one's really fucked up, where it's like, the way this thing's described, it can go, you basically can't see it if you're concentrating on it, but they've basically used its shadow and used the way it manipulates things to discern what it is. So it has a normally small head with no discernible neck, elbows branched into 3 sets of lower arms each, elongated torso approximately 1.9 meters in length, pelvis terminates in a crescent-shaped protrusion of osseous tissue with a blade-like lower edge, and levitates above the ground at a fixed height of 0.5 meters. So it is a grotesque,
horrifying monster. Yeah.
That they lock in a box for 10 years, and it just never-ending screams. And one day, another researcher takes it over, and they're just like, "This is fucked." To lock something in a box, to lock a sapient creature in a box for 10 years and have it scream unendingly. So slowly, they start doing these things with the monster where they like play music for it, and they can notice that the screaming level decreases. And then they like throw a ball in, they put a chicken in, they make it choose between meals of like human corpses or cooked food, and it likes the cooked food. And then slowly, like, they put a D class in there, and they start to roll the ball. And then he starts, like, using blocks to talk. And then he starts cooking food. And he starts, like, talking and having friends. And it's like, holy shit, like, this is like the antithesis of a classic SCP-1000 article. This is, like, the epitome of the opposite of that. Because it's, like, the way that the Foundation was initially. Like, a lot of those initial sub-1000 articles are deleted now.
It's like barbaric.
A lot of them are deleted, and a lot of them are rewritten, but it's basically like, we got this thing, we're locking it in a box, and then fuck it. But this is a much better exploration of this otherworldly entity that they don't really know anything about, but they're just taking a new approach as to discerning what to do with it. Another article this reminded me of was the one where a Russian soldier comes from an alternate timeline. He has like a big bug carapace suit, and it follows his life for 60 years where he just becomes like a priest and then like lives his life and has friends. It's just like a nice subversion.
It's looking at it differently. Yeah, it's looking at what an SCP document is completely differently. It's very neat. Because obviously at first glance this thing is hugely dangerous. It's got a fucking huge knife for a tail that can cut through a bowling ball. But it's really sad to like look at the test results and shit that it's clearly... Like, it uses its tail to, if I remember correctly, they're, like, throwing around a bowling ball or rolling it in, and it accidentally, like, chips the bowling ball, and it isn't rolling properly anymore, and it can't play with it. Yeah, and it starts to scream and shit, and it's very... Don't they find out it's, like, a really good cook? Am I thinking about the right one?
He just starts making, like... It's like the first article is... They roll a bowling ball in, and it has dates on it, too. So the dates range from... the beginning of 2018 to the end of 2019, and it's like beginning of 2018, it's like we rolled a bowling ball in, and then at the end of 2019, SCP was given 2 months to develop a 3-course meal to serve at the Biosite 19 cafeteria. He cooked sweet potato turmeric miso soup, and then duck, and then cassava pie topped with French vanilla ice cream. He's just like a nice lad, and he wants to be everyone's friend. Like, Yeah, that's one of my favorite articles because it's just like, holy fuck, you can do whatever you want with this premise. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't have to all be horrible fucking shit.
The name, too, is such like a mockery of it. It's very good. I like that one a lot. That one's a good one.
But the final ones from each of us, I think mine is going to be my favorite SCP.
Mine's my favorite as well.
But what's your favorite SCP, Dan?
Okie dokie, I'm gonna limit how much I talk about this because it's very complex. This is one of those SCPs that if someone stumbled upon this at first, they would be quite confused because it deals with a lot of very, like, heady SCP terms and narratives and shit above us in the course of reality and stupid shit like that lots of people don't like with SCP stories. But it's SCP-3812 and it's called A Voice Behind Me. And it is basically an SCP that it kind of points out the fact that there are narratives to the world, and we control the narratives of those below us, and there's entities above us that control our narratives. And it points to the fact that if there's a god, he wouldn't view narratives like that. He would view them as looking at stories on a page, akin to how we're reading SCP stories. That would be their entire reality, essentially.
Yeah.
And this one deals with the fact that someone above us wanted to do a test, it seems, and see if they could create a human entity that was narrativeless, that could just sink upwards through all eternity and be at the top of everything, even the top of who created them. And it's posed that essentially a dude dies, and then
dude with schizophrenia dies.
Yeah, it rises from his grave and, like, floats away. And it's essentially like this thing that was once a human is, like, suffering from all of this shit, paranoia and schizophrenia and delusions, and he's unable to determine what's real and what's not. And it's horrendous because he has such power that he doesn't understand. If he thinks that a continent shouldn't be there, he doesn't remember North America existing, it's instantly wiped off the face of the earth and no one remembers it existing ever. It ceases to exist and has never existed.
It's a very scary article because the SCP canon has these things that, like, you can measure reality bending things. Humes, and they have
I don't like how they describe it in this one,
They have reality anchors and shit like that, but none of that has any effect on this thing.
Yeah,
they can't measure it at all, and they can't affect it at all, and basically they're all just like, yep, we literally can't do anything about this, so we're fucked if it ever remembers us, basically.
The Hume level, they basically say that there's two situations. They can't register anything, so that means that their shit's broken, which is bad, because that's how they used to measure stuff. That's the baseline. Or it's so powerful it can't be measured in anything, which is almost worse because they've pointed at shit like gods and have gotten ratings from them.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that it is super duper duper powerful. It's just a huge power trip one. But what I dislike about this one a lot, like what's scary, I should say, I don't dislike it, I like this entire story. The SCP Foundation basically calls them dirty alterations, where it's like, it got rid of, one of the ones that it points out is, they believe in the 1960s, it got rid of Mongolia for like 12 hours. Just instantly flipped out Mongolia, and then it was back. But the SCP Foundation thinks that somewhere between the 1970s and 80s, there was some human emotion that was just wiped off the face of the earth. You can't,
just destroyed, yeah.
Just gone. Entire emotions, entire, like, existences, you can't even remember it. Very fucking weird, and there's a point where whatever created this thing kind of contacts the SCP Foundation, and he's pretty much
sorry.
Like, yeah, he's like, man, I'm really sorry. Like, I just tried to, like, rip its ego apart and detonate a nuke inside of it and shoot tungsten rods from, like, outer space on it. You guys should try and figure this one out, because I'm gonna get in trouble. And it's really good. I like this one a lot. I've shown Cassie this one. She liked it a lot too, but that's it from me. I say go read that one. SCP-3812, or Normal Human People, 3994.
That one has a good meta-narrative too. That's in a lot of these different SCP articles. It's like referencing us reading the SCP articles as like a heightened level of reality or something.
We're the top of the narrative pretty much in that world.
But is that it? That's all for your favorite SCP, Dan?
That's it. Yeah, I've got some more things I want to touch on after you're done, just topics within the SCP world, but that's it for my 4.
So my favorite SCP, and the one I like the most, is SCP-2316. You do not recognize the bodies in the water.
That's your favorite, eh? I can see that. That's a good one.
That one's fucked. I don't like that.
There's a lot to digest with it too.
There's a lot of supplemental material to this article, but I was really enamored by this article. The Vulcan also did a video of this article that's extremely good. Probably my favorite video.
Very good.
But I was smitten by this article before I read that because it has this intense sincerity to it. This intense, like, emotional reaction you get from reading the shit going on in the article. And it's this is written by DJ Cactus, who wrote this. This is the only DJ Cactus article I picked. But DJ Cactus wrote the 2 articles you just talked about. He wrote SCP-3000 with someone
else. I didn't know that. So, like, do you think he's a writer?
SCP-3812. Yeah, he is.
If you look, cool.
He has written like 200 SCP articles.
That's fucking cool, dude.
He's a fucking
I bet
prolific
he's a cool
fella.
guy.
And or person. I don't know his gender or their gender. Basically, this one's really, really simple, but it's also a very good encapsulation of the SCP Foundation, where it's just a lake somewhere, and it brings the article itself, like the way you read the article, into the narrative.
It brings into the story, which is cool. None of mine did that, but yeah.
There's a lot of SCP articles where it's like, you have to speak into the microphone to do something. Yep. So you click on something, it's like, your readings are good. So as you continue to read this article, it's just like fucked up shit where it's describing what is going on in this place, where it's like just a lake where people will think about it. People know what it is and think about it. They will start to believe that the bodies in the water are their classmates from 1976, and they have this intense need to go there and save them and go in the water and like
you need to remember them and you need to help them because they're relying on you. It's fucking creepy.
There's a bunch of bits in this article that are also hidden. Like there's footnotes in the article that are like, I'll read you one. They're lying. They know damn well who we are. The cognito hazard is real. We're just a way of crying for help, of letting people know who they are, who they were. And it's like, how can you not recognize the bodies in the water? And they don't want to show you, but I will. Below, and you read this interview, and this person who's just exasperatingly talking to this doctor, and he's like, I know that they're my friends. I know I need to go and save them. You need to let me out of here so I can go fucking save them. And the guy's like, you've obviously been corrupted by this cognito hazard. Take him to amnestics. Get him out of here. And it's just like completely fucking fucked and scary because you don't know what. Like, people just disappear. You don't know what's happening and what's going on with this fucking lake. And it's so like, this is the part where it's like I'm a very intensely emotional person, and I like my friends. I like being a reliable person.
If Jim saw me floating in the water, I know
I'd go in and save you. If you were trying to contact me in my dream and you said, remember us in 1976 when I was in the water? And I'd be like, yes, and I'd go and try to save you. But that's when it hits my emotions, that's when I get the most scared.
Yeah, this one does some cool shit with the article. I'm just looking at it because I read all this today at work, and I read all the supplemental stuff. This is one that almost has a little story written in. There's like 3 different articles you can read, and they're all related to the high school. One's like the marching band, one's like a photograph, and then the big one's this one. This is the big one. But yeah, the footnotes are just so creepy. Usually footnotes in SCP stories are like scientific stuff, this is how you register hume ratings. And the first one of this one is normal. And then the very second one is just, I know everyone, I know who they are, do you know all their names? And then the third one's just a list of names. And it's like, okay, it's definitely a different article. It's really disturbing. I will say, do you think it's evil, though? I always get the impression from this article that the SCP Foundation has done something fucked up, and they're trying to cover for themselves.
Definitely. I definitely get that vibe.
It doesn't sound right. Like, when that guy's talking to the doctor, he's, like, directing him by name instantly. He's like, this isn't right. Like, I know what you're hiding. And instantly that doctor's like, get him the fuck out of here. Don't let him say anything.
Dan, do you recognize the bodies in the water?
I don't recognize the bodies in the water. I don't know if you do, but I don't. Do you think Markiplier recognizes the bodies in the water?
I think that if they had enough calcium in their bones, Markiplier would
recognize them. Yeah, this one, I like the story with this one. The marching band shit's fucked, and then the photograph, and there's a couple stories about a dude that is getting, like, he was taken from the school, and now he's remembering what the fuck's going on. Do you know that school name, Syncophane?
Yeah.
I was looking up what that is. It's a word. I didn't know that. Syncophane is like not getting enough oxygen to your brain.
Because you're a body in the water, Dan.
Yeah, so I was like, there's definitely shit going on here. It's very cool. But that's Jim's favorite. Jim, re-say your couple 4. Say your 4, I'll say my 4, and I want to bring up some stuff before we're done here.
So I like SCP-3333. I don't know if there's a name for it, but it's the Watchtower one.
Yeah, I think it's called the Watchtower.
I like the Rain, SCP-3300. I like Yet Another Murder Monster, SCP-5031. And you do not recognize the bodies in the water, SCP-2316.
Yeah. I've got 3812, A Voice Behind Me, 3994, Normal Human People, 489, 155, Bug Bash, and 3000.
Bug Bash. I feel like when people do a cursory glance at the SCP fandom, you see those video games, and they're all like the same fucking premise. I remember back in 2011, they had SCP Containment Breach, where it's like you were chased by the Peanut, and the lizards who emulate human voices, and the lizard who can't die and shit. And then there's the stupid fucking horror game where it's like the never-ending staircase.
Jim doesn't like
with
the staircase one.
That one's stupid. There's ones that are extremely popular that I think are fucking dog shit. Like that one's dog shit. That's a bad story. But one of the early SCPs I like a lot too is the diseased man, like the ghost that like destroys metal and stuff and just walk through walls basically.
Oh, the old man?
Yeah, and there's a story about it where he was a soldier in World War I and just got subsumed into the muck of the trenches and then turned into that. And he was just like a debased, evil fucking creature. Like there's lots of good stuff, even in the sub 1000 articles. But if you guys want, go to the SCP wiki, sort by top rated. Or
definitely sort by top rated, or you might click on one that's dumb and you'll be like, these are fucking stupid. Or go to the Volgan's YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's a better idea. There's lots of them that are good, like DJ Cactus, all of his articles I liked, and he has a wide variety of stuff. He did stuff about like this company that makes fucked up weird stuff called Dr. Wondertainment, where they make
that?
Fish people and shit. He has this one that's like called The Dread Piper and Titania and stuff, where it's about these 4 corrupted knights who were in different places of the world, like stuck to trees and in subterranean caves and stuff. Fantasy elements to that one. But there's like Here Be Dragons and
he made that one?
No, he didn't make that one. But
okay.
Here Be Dragons is a really good story.
That's sad.
London, I like that one a lot too.
I like London a lot. There's so many we could talk about.
The Never Ending IKEA, that one's really famous, but that one's really, really funny and good.
We should do a part 2 of this sometime. There's a lot to talk about.
A lot more SCPs. Well, if we wanted to categorize the stuff we picked, like the one I did, like the one was a very good example of like an excursion, like looking into the site. The Rain one was a fucked up one they just can't do anything about. And then there's Yet Another Murder Monster, which subverted stuff. And then just the really fucking scary one, you do not recognize the bodies in the water. How would you sum up the ones you picked?
If you listen to this podcast at all, I like stupid aliens and stuff like that. And these are all kind of that. Normal human people are a weird alien race. Bug Bash is like Starship Troopers, a lot of weird shit like that. Big snake in the water, big huge eel. And then the most out there one for me is A Voice Behind Me. And I don't know why I like it so much. I just like how heady and how spooky and weird it is that this dude is like tumbling. They describe it as sinking upwards. He's just falling through narratives, and that terminology is just very creepy to me.
But that's it. I think that's it. We've run a little long, but we've had a good ass discussion about
stuff
this
was good. This was a good one.
We're ending up. What are we doing for next time here, Danny?
So, Jim, we watched The Princess, and I said to myself, there's another movie with Joey King right now. There's another movie I can watch.
Oh, no.
But I didn't go to the theaters. And we're going to go to the theaters. We're going to go next week, and we're going to maybe bring some people if they want to come, and we're going to watch Bullet Train, okay?
We're going to watch Bullet Train with old Joey King and Brad Pitt and others.
And a bunch of others. So that's what it's going to be. 3 weeks from when we're recording this, 2 weeks from when you're listening to this.
Do you want to do another, like, summation of Joey King? Or I don't know how... I can't attest to the quality of Bullet Bullet Train yet.
Me neither. I'm going into it. I think I watched one trailer, but we're gonna watch Bullet Train. We'll maybe go. I'm off. Maybe we'll go like Tuesday night or something to a cheap show.
Okay.
We'll do that.
If that's it, then you can follow the podcast at Shack Out Back Pod. Please give us a rate on whatever you're watching. Give us a thumbs up.
Podcast
give us a 5
provider,
star.
yeah, we're on everywhere now. We are on everywhere.
I'm the intro music is by the one and only Lee Jackson. Give him a follow on Twitter. He's an extremely nice man.
I think he's doing better on Twitter too. He was kind of sick
better
for a little while, but I think he's feeling better, which is good.
Damn good. All podcast art animations by Brandon Chen on ArtStation, Dollbox02 on Instagram, and old CassieHDesign.com, all one word. I'm at Popeyed Barkin. The other guy
I am Danny, and I'm at Dan Salmon. If you're listening, thank you so much. And I love everyone's comments on YouTube, and I love all the people interacting with us. Very good to see.
If that's it, Dan, I'm gonna take us out this week.
Tell me, Jim.
I'm gonna list the ingredients in this pack of Sour Patch Kids I've been eating from. Sugar.
You can eat shit while you're recording. I can't.
Sugar, modified cornstarch, tartaric acid, citric acid, artificial flavor, brilliant blue FCF, and Allure Red. I bought a pack of these for Pat. I hope she's not choking to death in all these chemicals. But
goodbye,
everybody.
Pat.
Good night, darling.
Goodbye, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Dan.
Good night, everybody.